Hey everybody, Happy New Year! I hope you had some great holidays with your loved ones. So anyway, 2018 was a pretty good year for gaming. Maybe not as good as 2017, but still great regardless. The reason as to why I'm saying this is because I had trouble planning this video. The original idea was to make a top 10 best games of 2018, but then I realized I don't have 10 games I will call the best of the best. Make no mistake, I played at least 10 games that released this year, but I once saw a joke article that said, Guy's top 10 is the only 10 games he played throughout the year. And that's quite true. Taking all the games I played this year, call them the best, and then call it a day, that's quite cheap, I think. I'm a firm believer that above everything, a video game should be fun. But when a game does something more and it goes that extra mile, it helps it to stand above the rest. So let's do it this way. Why don't I talk about the games that I played, I enjoyed, and that's it, that's where I draw the line. And then I leave my top 5 best for the end. Sounds good? Great. This is my personal, the fun, and the top 5 best games of 2018. Wait, before we begin, I have to clarify. 2018 wasn't really the best year for me financially, so I was unable to play everything there was to offer. I missed on titles like Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, and Octopath Traveler. Those are the first ones that come to mind. So if you don't see a game you really like here, don't think I dislike them, it's just that for one reason or another I was unable to play them. So anyway, let's begin for real now. Pokemon Let's Go is a game that was extremely bashed before its release. I was on neutral ground on it, but after seeing a very nice discount I gave it a fair chance, and to my surprise, it was better than I thought. Maybe that's not saying much because I didn't have any expectations at all, but it turned out to be a charming adventure. It has a lot of fantastic mechanics, but it held itself with a lot of backwards decisions. I'm just gonna say it right now, I despise the catching mechanics here for quite a number of reasons. Let's Go was a fun reimagining of Kanto and quite relaxing at times. I don't think that my time was wasted, but it also didn't do anything groundbreaking.
Hey, look here, it's a Wario!
WarioWare was a series I considered dead. After an extremely underwhelming game and 5 years on inactivity, I thought the series was done for. But WarioWare Gold came just in time to bring back the series from the graveyard to do what it does best. Experiencing a bunch of fast-paced microgames while keeping our concentration on the edge. The different control schemes were genuinely good and responsive, and it doesn't lose that unique, wacky personality the series is known for. The time I spent on WarioWare Gold was full of laughs and adrenaline, and due to its random nature and exhilarating challenge, it easily secured a lot of replay value from me. But what surprised me the most was Wario speaking Spanish.
¡Videojuegos! ¡Eso es dinero fácil!
Sorry if that sounds dumb, but seeing a first-party Nintendo game with a Latin Spanish dub is still quite new to me. Kirby Star Allies. I mean, what can I say? Kirby games have always played it safe, doing pretty much the same thing but with different main gimmicks. But regardless of that, I really love the games, and Star Allies is no exception. A simple and relaxing 2D platformer that can bring together a whole bunch of friends and above everything, is fun. The capture mechanic is a neat implementation, the environments are very nice looking, the boss battles were frantic and the lore was incredible. I had this issue that the game felt extremely short, and that's quite true. But Star Allies brought tons of free DLC that boosted its replayability, making it a bigger package than it originally was, and as a huge Kirby fan, you can imagine that this free DLC made me lose my mind with its fan service. It's a known fact that everybody in this world loves Spiderman. I know it, you know it, the people who cried in the movie theater during the ending of Avengers Infinity War know it, so who can resist a video game of our friendly neighbor? New York comes to life with a lot of activities to do and crime to fight. Swinging through the streets always feels so satisfying. It's one of those games where I don't want to quick travel because web slinging along was already fun in its own right. Spider-Man himself is just as lovable as he's always been, and the combat ain't too shabby either. I can almost say this is one of the best superhero games ever made, and it could have easily become a top 5, but I haven't beaten it, nor do I own the game for that matter. The only times I play this game is when I go to my friend Pablo's house, and I don't think it's right to write a full review for a game I haven't finished, but at least I can share the impressions it has left on me by far, and I can say that Marvel's Spider-Man is a pretty spectacular game. No pun intended. 2018 was a wild year to be a Yakuza fan. There was a crossover with the Fist of the North Star series, a cell phone game, and then there was Yakuza 6, a complete turnaround for the series. This one brought a new engine, new mechanics, and a proper closure to the story of Kiryu Kazuma. Yakuza 6 doesn't disappoint. The gameplay is still amazing and rewarding, the extra activities are still very fun distractions, the narrative is top notch, and the cast of characters was so captivating. The newly implemented Dragon Engine brings a lot of great stuff like reduced loading times and some stunning visuals. I dare to say that I felt that it needed more polish though, since it also compromised the game's frame rate and even the physics to some extent. Yakuza 6 feels like an experiment, but not a bad one mind you. While it changed a lot of mechanics on the surface, it doesn't deviate much from what made the series great, and as a fan, I was pretty satisfied. And if you're wondering, if I enjoyed this game so much, then why isn't it top 5? You'll see soon enough. So what do you think? Remember, those were games that I played, I had fun with, and that's it, they did their base job. But I still recommend you guys to check them out, they're worth the time. But what do you say we move now to my personal 5 big balls? Probably the most predictable entry in this video. I mean, what can I say? It's Smash Bros. It's easy to pick up and in a matter of seconds you jump, you fight, you launch, but this time with over 70 characters to choose from. Ultimate has the right ingredients to satisfy any person who plays it. There's enough variety and madness to entertain the more casual audience, but also the revamped mechanics and more fast-paced combat ought to have the more competitive folks satisfied. Playing with friends is always a guarantee to be a good time, so I have to compliment the single player mode for being a major step up from whatever Smash 4 tried to do. The new story mode, World of Light, I feel that it dragged for more than it needed, but I found myself going because the vast amount of references to multiple franchises was very charming. And well, this might just be a me thing, but the fact that I had to unlock the entire roster through gameplay felt way more rewarding than having the majority of it from the get-go. Ultimate succeeds in what it does best, in being a consistently fun game that can be played however you want. Alone, with friends, items, personal one-on-ones, and even if there's both good and bad, piece of shit. Smash Bros will always have that magic of allowing us to play as our favorite characters, deliver a lot of exciting moments, and make us lose our minds.
Si alcanzas a regresar. Buena, güey.
One thing I always look forward in any video game is the boss battles. And that's pretty much what Monster Hunter World is. A series of incredible and exhilarating boss fights combined with a very methodical but hard-hitting combat delivered nothing but thrills every single battle. Every monster in this game was threatening and unique in its own way. The combat is more than just hitting boss-sized iguanas until they die. The more I fought against the monsters, the better I was getting in understanding them. What are their attacks, when are they angry, what are the weak points, where do they go to restore health when they're about to die. I was constantly wondering how I should approach a monster and thinking about how I should use the environments to my advantage. Despite fighting the same monsters over and over, every battle was very different from the last. Using the materials I got when defeating monsters allowed me to craft new armors and new weapons. The variety is good enough to adapt into whatever playstyle you like the best, and every time I wanted to try something new, again, it made every battle different from the last. Monster Hunter has been a franchise I've been wanting to try for years, so I don't have anything to compare it to, but I can say World does an excellent job in being accessible. As a newcomer, I got easily adapted to its mechanics, and after that, I spent hours and hours taking down monsters alone, or even better, with my friends. Wow, just damn, I'm still amazed by this DLC. I already made an entire video on Splatoon 2 and my personal experience with it. In that video, I talked about how there was a time where I genuinely hated Splatoon just for the sake of hating it. But everything turned around when a friend gave me the game for Christmas, and sometime later, another friend gave me the Octo expansion, and with that, I found a huge appreciation for the series. 6 months have passed, and there's two things I'm still 100% sure of. The Octo expansion is amazing. And also that Fly Octo Fly is one of the best final boss teams ever! Ow! What Octo Expansion does is simply taking every single neat idea from the core gameplay and expands it in a bunch of creative challenges. Every single one of them is very unique, demanding a fair amount of skill without going too overboard. The presentation was mesmerizing, as the atmosphere was so bizarre that it added a fantastic sense of unease. Octo Expansion is a great way to get more out of the game. It might baffle some folks that I will put a DLC on my top 5, but just like I said in that Splatoon 2 video, that's genuinely how I feel. Look, if a DLC opened my eyes and completely turned my opinion around into a whole new perspective, that's something I find very meaningful, and that's an act that made the Octo Expansion into something very special to me. I'm starting to notice I have a thing for remakes of the second game in a franchise. Remember how I said that Yakuza 6 felt like an experiment? That's because I felt that it needed more polish, and that's pretty much what happened in Yakuza Kiwami 2. I'm gonna keep this one simple because I'll only be repeating myself. Just take everything positive I said about 6, but escalate that even further. Kiwami 2 simply improves on everything. The combat is more refined and varied, traveling the maps felt less awkward with the new physics. I honestly didn't spend much time with the minigames, but I was extremely happy to see my favorite one back here, the Cabaret Club. The sub-stories were definitely something else, and the boss battles, climactic and immersive. The biggest highlight for me was the story. I was expecting something simple considering it's an over 10-year-old story, but this one is superb for a number of reasons. The other Yakuza games are somewhat connected in one way or the other, but always leave some loose ends between games to accommodate to newcomers. In Kiwami 2, the story was more directly tied to the first game, and it made a great use of the old phases while still making the new ones interesting. All of that while keeping a deep and engaging narrative that had the perfect blend of action, drama, and coherency. And that little bonus, the Majima story, I won't spoil anything, but I'll tell you that if you played Yakuza 0, you're in for a very wild ride. As a remake, it succeeds in modernizing a decade-old game, and as a Yakuza game, it keeps its identity intact. I will advise you to try this one after playing Kiwami 1, but even if you jump right into it without previous knowledge, I still guarantee you'll experience a phenomenal game. You ever heard the saying, better late than never? That's what happened to me with Celeste. I got this game a day before Christmas, so I'll just start by saying, what in my mind started out as, oh great, another pixelated indie game, ended up becoming a masterpiece for me, and I have to thank my friends who pushed me to try this game. Celeste is one of the most beautiful 2D platformers I've ever had the pleasure to experience. From beginning to end, this game absorbed me with its incredibly tough yet perfectly executed design. The learning curve escalated as I was getting better. As soon as the first chapter, I realized that this game was going to be very strict. It taught me its mechanics without ever saying a word. Whenever a new gimmick appeared, it was a matter of experimentation and quickly getting used to it. I died in this game quite a lot, I'll say, but it's so difficult to criticize something you can't complain about. Celeste teaches you a lot with every challenge. The level design was so carefully elaborated to be ruthless, but fair. My hands were sweating the entire time, and even if I failed, I had nobody to blame but myself. Despite every failure I experienced, the game never made me feel bad about it, and whenever I finished a chapter, I felt nothing but immense satisfaction. Celeste presented a simple but endearing story about overcoming your own failures and accepting yourself, along with a cast of believable and humane characters. More than a game, it was an experience, one that became relatable in one way or another. I felt a close attachment to these characters, and no matter what obstacles the game was going to throw at me, I wanted to see the main characters succeed. When I beat the game, there was no doubt in my mind that Celeste was truly a masterpiece and one of the best 2D platformers I've ever played. When I say this game is right up there with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, you know I'm serious about that statement. But more than that, Celeste became my absolute favorite game of 2018. So that's it! Another great year for gaming. The only bad thing is that I was unable to play everything, but tough shit, that's life. Hopefully 2019 will be even better. Kingdom Hearts 3 is right around the corner. After 3 gorillion years it's finally happening. Maybe we will finally get news about Animal Crossing Switch and Metroid Prime 4. But the most important thing, my main priority... So thank you guys so much for joining in. As usual, I hope you had an enjoyable time. And for those new to the channel, maybe you should consider clicking that cool red button down there and maybe support the channel that way? You better take care of yourself, cause I'll be seeing you next time.